You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is the Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. So a huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them. Do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my two pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my two golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedoghouseokc.com and follow them on Instagram at thedoghouseokc. And hopefully our pups will run into each other. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down at the Oklahoma Hall of Fame today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our guest, Mr. Chris Castor, who is going to talk to us about drones. The Thunderbird Drone Festival is coming up in October, and we're going to hear all about that, as well as Chris's incredible backstory into filmmaking, family stuff. You're born and raised in Woodward, which we'll talk about. But yeah, thanks for coming to the city. I'm glad we timed this well.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so, it's always fun when we press record, and sometimes I wish the stuff that we just talked about is on the podcast, which we will talk about. It's like you're a filmmaker, you get it.
Yep.
But let's go way back. Before we get into the drone stuff, let's talk about Woodward. Earliest memories of Woodward with your whole family that's out there.
Yeah. So I've been there for as long as I can remember. Born, raised there, grew up there. All my family's there. It's full of just lots of cool memories. Doing stuff together, creating stuff together. And we have a good family relationship, so it's not any of that weird stuff where you're kind of at odds with people in your family. Like we're all really close, and so it's always a lot of fun, a lot of laughs.
And so you're in the filmmaking industry. Mm-hmm. Most people, if you said, "Hey, I'm from Woodward, Oklahoma," they'd have said that's the last thing you'd have been in. So is family not in the industry, or is family all sort of in the media type music world as well?
Yeah, so really none of my family's in, the film industry for sure. Nathan, one of the co-founders of the festival, he's kind of found his way into that. My family's just, they have kind of normal jobs, electricians, and my mom was worked for the post office and things like that. And so it's very interesting, I guess, that I do work in that industry and still live in a place like Woodward, just a small town, 12,000 people, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. So growing up, it's not sadly because it worked out. growing up, the media world isn't what it was when we grew up.
Yep.
You know, it was like we grew up without phones with cameras on them, go play outside, you know, VHS, all the good stuff, the great memories of the 90s. Where does like video and filmmaking come into it for you? Does it take a while?
Yeah, so I actually, I don't think I actually even touched a camera to make any type of film until late high school,
oh, wow.
college, you know, and I for sure didn't get into any professional film stuff until after I had graduated college. So it's I've been in the industry for roughly 15 years, and all of that has come after my college experience.
What was the dream as a kid then? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, so I love music. I play guitar and sing, and so my sister and I we would do a lot of that together, and always was drawing, painting, things like that. My degree is actually in fine arts with emphasis in painting. So I'm a painter, and you know, I joke that you can't make money as a painter unless you're dead or maimed or something like that. So I after college got into graphic design and found my way into motion graphics and visual effects, and that led to work on set and things like that. Just slowly kind of really in a really neat way to me, just a low pressure, stress-free kind of building myself into the film industry, and I've just loved it.
Yeah. Do you still paint today?
I do a little bit, yeah. Probably some of the last stuff I did, I got to do some work for Kevin Durant whenever he was in town, and so I did some live painting at some of his events, which was really fun. And you know, I've done some work for like Phil and Kay Robertson, the Duck Dynasty people, and that's kind of some of my bigger work. But yeah, I just enjoy all things creative. You know, anything I can do like that.
Yeah. How'd you get into, you know, painting live? I have a friend that does it, and it's fantastic to see it, especially at events, and you know, they auction off the piece at the end, and it's really cool to create it live. You know, do it there, and obviously you're under the pressure of doing it. How do you get into that? And then when you paint live, like, tell me about that. What do you paint when do you have like a criteria? I mean, tell me about that whole.
Yeah, so I've always loved portraits for some reason. I like realism. I'm not much of an abstract guy. I like trying to capture reality, and so typically the stuff I've painted has been portraits, you know, realistic portraits. But I don't even remember how I got into like doing it live. I think I just got asked a few different times, and kind of with kind of a performance background, singing and playing guitar, like I wasn't afraid to kind of be up on stage and do that, and so it just kind of naturally kind of evolved in you know, in my life. But it's super fun. I mean, with the Kevin Durant deal, that was just, you know, super nerve-wracking because, you know, there's all these guys kind of standing around me and watching me paint, and I'm at his restaurant, and it was funny because I did that event, and then a few weeks later I did a smaller event. They asked me back, and we were in kind of his back room at KD's, and I was painting away, and I felt someone tap me on the shoulder, and I turned around, it was Kevin Durant, and it, like, you know, shocked me, you know. I dropped my brush on his floor and all that. He's like, don't worry about it, you know. But it's just, it's fun, cool memories that I'm like, you know, who else gets to do stuff like that? It's just I'm super humbled by it, and thankful for the times getting to do that, and just the fun memories there. But
were you painting him as well?
So at the first event that was like a charity gala thing for his foundation, and then the second event was kind of one of his friends, one of his chefs actually, was doing an event for Flint, Michigan, where he was from. So that was we were painting something different there. But
yeah, I can imagine the nerves. You're painting Kevin Durant. He's in the room. You're painting for his event. Like, don't mess it up.
That's right.
He comes over. He's like, that doesn't look anything like me.
Yeah, that's not me. Yeah.
What's he like? He's obviously a lot bigger in person than most people think.
Compared to me, I'm a short guy. Like he's huge, but super nice guy. I mean, we didn't, you know, obviously we weren't chatting for a long time, but very kind, and enjoyed getting to meet him.
You a huge basketball fan? I
love basketball. Yeah. I like to play basketball probably more than anything. I'm not great, but but I enjoy it. So
So that stuff is, like, I mean, when was the last time you did it? Do you do it when you find time, or is it just kind of like?
Yeah, it's film has kind of consumed most of my time in my life, but I still love, like, any chance I get to explore any type of thing like that. Like, I've enjoyed sculpture and painting and drawing and all that kind of stuff. I just like to play with it, and just kind of see what I enjoy and what sticks, and and it's been fun too. I've applied a lot of kind of my artistic exploration into film, and so I've done some things where we've done time-lapse paintings where, like, we just keep painting over and over the top of the next painting and creating a whole video out of that. We've done some things like where we've painted with water on watercolor paper and then dropped the ink into it, and, like, the image kind of forms via the ink, which has been really fun, and then put that into a format, telling a short story. And so that's been really, really neat. And I want to do more of that, just like kind of exploring the mix of the two mediums. It's been really fun. Yeah. And you mentioned before we started recording, you got 2 young kids. Are the kids involved in the painting? Are they creative as well? Yeah. So my son, Kai, they're both super creative. Kai probably has more of kind of an engineering mind. And so he loves Lego, and he's always building and creating things out of that. My daughter Lucy, I think she's going to be the one who's going to be the singer, and she's always wanted to learn instruments, and she'll sit there and pick out little parts on the piano, and same with arts. She's kind of like, I'll do whatever, and sit there for a long time messing with stuff. But both super creative kids for sure. Yeah, it's fun to take them along and either paint with them or film, have them in your videos or whatever it is. Like, it's fostering that creativity so that to them it just feels natural and normal. Absolutely. You're not teaching. You are teaching, but you're not teaching in a, hey, sit down, I'm going to teach you how to do video. Here's Adobe. For sure, So you mentioned you went to school for kind of fine arts. You make a transition into graphic design. Is that after graduation, or is that during? Yeah, that's after. Okay. After. I mean, because of my personality, I'm just always trying to learn different things. So I'd already, before I even took the graphic design class in college, I was proficient in Photoshop and things like that. And so it was a natural kind of jump into that profession. And so graduating, you get a job doing graphic design and special effects, and then does that, you mentioned the movie business or the film industry. How do you marry those two together with graphic design, special effects, and tell me about that opportunity and how that comes about? Yeah, so after college, I got on at a company doing graphic design, and within the first month, because I actually tried to get on as a children's book illustrator, and there wasn't any positions open. And so within the first month, they were like, hey, you're doing graphic design, doing a good job, but we're starting a new kind of part to our company where we're doing like book trailers for the book authors and things like that. And so, is that something that would interest you? And so I was like, I've always wanted to do film and things like that, and I'd kind of dabbled in some skateboard videos and music videos and things like that, but I was like, just never really had a really great outlet for it. And so I was like, sure, let's try it. And so it was a fun time because I got to really dive into, like I said, motion graphics. So I was learning kind of marrying the two, graphic design and animation, and that was a lot of fun. And then that kind of just in my spare time transitioned over to, I was like, oh, visual effects, so this is fun. Like, I make this car blow up and it's not really blowing up, just trying to play with things like that on my free time and learn those things. And during that time, the only guy I knew that was working in the film industry was my friend and one of my bosses and coworkers now named Brian Cates, and we work together at Skit Guys now is where I work full time. But I just kind of had been introduced to him, and so I messaged him and I was like, hey, would you just watch my work and tell me if it's any good, because I want to get better at this and I don't have any formal training in it or whatever. And so he did, and he started, he's like, oh, try this, this might look better, kind of mentoring me in that. And then within, a few months, he was like, hey, you want to do this freelance project for the Skit Guys? And I was like, sure, yeah, let's do it. And so that transpired over a few months, and then they were like, hey, you want to come on full time? You can, at this point I had moved back to Woodward, and they were like, you can work from Woodward and create stuff for us, and it's been awesome. Yeah. And then just as Skit Guys has kind of been slowly transitioning into wanting to go from short films and even animated content into more of like feature films. We have our first feature film out a couple years ago, but so we've been slowly kind of acting as if all of our short films are going to be features, and having full crews on there and everything like that. And so that like really quickly trained me up in like, okay, this is what all these positions are, and that's what the sound guy does, and grip, and gaff and all of that. And so like I've probably worked in every position on set over the last 10 years, just in a really low pressure way, which has been just really fun. And getting to know all the great crew of Oklahoma City and the surrounding areas. So
and that's, I mean, obviously amazing that you can work from home and do this, thankfully, right? Because you don't want to be driving all over the state to, especially from Woodward, if you moved home and obviously being around family, having kids, you want them to grow up in the values of growing up in a smaller town.
Absolutely.
And out in Woodward, like it's a lot different than coming here and going to school in Oklahoma City. Not that that's a bad thing, it's just different.
Sure. And
you grow up the way that you grew up and your whole family did. So that's kind of really nice. And then getting into that industry, and, not to mention that film is kind of growing, in Oklahoma, and getting more tax benefits and more people are aware of it and voting on it.
Yep.
As this whole kind of transition is going on. And, you mentioned you've been in 15 or so years now. You've sort of been in that industry up to now, and you're still with the Skit Guys as well. Yeah. So you've been with them quite a while then.
I mean, really, that's like my kind of second professional job in the media and film industry, and I've loved staying with them. They're great guys to work for.
Yeah, it's when you find that sweet spot, right? Like you probably don't see yourself going anywhere else right now. You have a great team. You're happy. Everything works out. Work doesn't feel like work as much.
Yeah,
it's always work.
Absolutely.
Right. You always have to get up in the morning. Sometimes, you'd much rather be on a beach somewhere.
Yes.
Or playing with drones or whatever it is. But it's very fortunate of you to find a group like that.
Absolutely.
And to go and have that common goal, and you all kind of help each other out, and you all got your own niches of what you're good at. That's very rare.
It is. Yeah. Like this past year, we did some kind of stripped down crew things, and we went and shot 5 different videos in California, then 5 different videos in Colorado. And it was just a blast hanging out with us, 4 or 5 guys, driving around, laughing, shooting a bunch of just really fun stuff in beautiful locations. And I was like, I'm under no illusions that how fortunate and blessed I am just to have a job like that I really love and enjoy.
Your wife calls like, "How's it going?" You're like, "Oh, I'm on the road all the time.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
How
She's
are the
at
kids?
home with the kids. Yeah, we're eating at some nice restaurant.
Out with the boys, having a great time traveling around, making films.
Yeah.
What is there? Do you guys kind of focus on a certain genre of film, or is it just kind of whoever as the client, and then you get to be creative with that?
Yeah. So we actually don't have any clients. We create videos to sell, which is really cool. So Tommy and Eddie are 2 best friends from high school that they started kind of touring around to different churches and ministries when they were younger, kind of just taking a stand-up comedy kind of approach, doing kind of SNL type videos or SNL type skits for churches and youth groups and things like that. And that evolved over time into videos when Brian came on with them and started kind of introducing videos to the mix, and it was great for them, kind of get them off for the road a little bit and then create a product that could sell. So we're one of the bigger companies that sell media to churches. So we will do like a Father's Day comedy or a Mother's Day comedy or Christmas videos, and we sell those to churches, license those to churches to use in their services. So like right now we're working on we just released our Easter series that we shot in Colorado, and so it's basically 5 videos that could set a pastor up just to like, hey, today we're going to talk about the shepherds and their contribution to the the story of Christ, and so sometimes they're comedies, sometimes they're kind of more serious in tone, and then we give basically, it really caters to a church without a media team.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's what most churches are in the United States, is smaller churches that basically a pastor just runs by himself. And so it's really setting that pastor up to succeed with good quality material. Yeah. And so that's what we do. It's kind of a unique market, but we're fortunate to be one of the kind of the top players there.
Right? Yeah,
absolutely.
Like it's a, when you probably, when people say to you, like I just asked you, like, what is it that you guys focus on? And like now you've explained it, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because there is a huge market for it.
Yeah.
And you make one, you can license the same video. You've only got to make one series and you can license it
forever
to whoever, right? That's really neat to do that. So it sounds like faith has been a big part of your life growing up. To obviously to have that context, making and marrying your passion for film and graphic design into your faith background too.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, kind of back with my family, that's who all of us are. Like as we were born and raised, and we're followers of Christ, and I think like kind of if I summed up my family as like Jesus and people like are important, and relationships and that. And so that's, it's funny just talking about kind of a lot of the things I do are kind of public facing or like noticed by people. And one thing my mom has always said to me is like, hey, like this is really cool that you do all these things. Like just make sure you remember where that came from. And always turn that back, not to yourself, but to the one who gave it to you. And so that's important to me, like that I remain like, okay, like this is cool, you got to do that, but like that's not the ultimate thing. And super important.
Yeah, because the dopamine hit and the likes and the clicks and the YouTube views, like and like the amount of churches that you may license to, like yes, it feels good.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
There's no one on this earth that isn't going to tell you that it doesn't feel good. It feels good to be validated and have attention and people thank you and congratulate you on your work. Yeah. But your mom's totally right. You got to keep your feet grounded and remember what your purpose is, and remember, like you said, you've been blessed with this skill to learn these things. It's the skill of learning. Yeah. Not the that you just directed that at sounds like a few things during your life, and clearly there's a pattern here. You pick up things pretty well if you throw get into it and you have a passion for it, like the painting.
And I think people forget too. There's like sometimes something that you build your life around may not always be there. Mm-hmm. And so like there may be a day where I can't paint or I can't sing or I can't do film anymore. And so like my substance has to be somewhere else, So
have you always kind of sang as a kid too, growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
In church and stuff?
Like church and I was in 3 or 4 different bands growing up. Just, lots of fun memories there too.
What type, is there a specific genre? Obviously with church music, it's a little different, but is there now a specific genre that you kind of lean towards?
Yeah, so, growing up, I loved rock music, and that's what the bands I was in, we played, things like that. As I've gotten older, I shared this with you before we started, but I grew up listening to the Eagles and Vince Gill and Steve Miller Band and bands like that because my mom and dad loved them, and that kind of music I still love today. And I've my tastes have kind of changed as I've gotten older. More chill music or music, I guess, where not that rock can't be intricate music, but just stuff with more kind of thought put into it, sometimes and just loud and crazy, but
my granddad would used to just call it headbanging music. Why you listen to headbanging music? Because it's good. It's destroying my eardrums right now, but it's good. And music's the best, right? Music just phases through your life, like you kind of go, but you always music's such a memory thing too. Like you hear the Eagles song and you're like, it takes you back to maybe riding in the car with your mom or your dad or whatever it is, like that. What's on the radar right now? What are you listening to at the moment? Anybody kind of that you just have on repeat?
I know it'll probably sound lame, but I really like John Mayer.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic musician. Like
people don't realize how good he is.
No,
right?
Well, like it's kind of like his first 2 albums, kind of poppy and maybe a little goofy. I'm not huge fans of those, but like anything after his Continuum album and after, I feel like it's just like really like complex, really good writing, good melodies, harmonies, all that kind of stuff. So I love that, and then just I mean, I love pulling out the Eagles and Vince Gill and listening to 90s country is really good. I just like, I really like Brooks and Dunn and things like that. But yeah, I'm a fan of just about anything I can find that I'm like, I really like right now. It's really funny. My daughter, she's, for whatever reason, really, and we didn't say, hey, listen to this. I think maybe she found it on Fortnite or something. Her and my son kind of like Fortnite, but she's really into Enter Sandman by Metallica, which is really funny. She wanted it on her birthday party mix, which we had in a church. She's 12. Yeah, right? She's 8, or she's 6. Yeah, she just turned 7. Sorry. Oh, that's brilliant. So she's the youngest, and we were listening to something in the car yesterday on the way to church, some rock song, and she was back in the back. She's got long hair, and she was just like, she's like, Dad, look at me, I'm headbanging. I'm like, yes, you are. Good job, good girl.
I'm just picturing like the kind of cliche like grandparent age people who are walking into church and your daughter's walking in as well, just headbanging. It's like, yes, this is awesome. It's that kind of Footloose type mentality that's kind of pictures in my head, but I love that. That's so good.
We play, my sister and brother-in-law Nathan, we do worship almost every Sunday at our church for 2 different services, and we do more of a contemporary style, but my grandma leads the kind of more traditional stuff. But a few weeks ago, my daughter and Nathan and Bobby's daughter, which is around the same age, like about a month apart, they were sitting in the front row, and they start doing ballet and praising and dancing at the same time. We're like, it's like, hey, it's like, that's fine, you're just being distracting.
It's like, you're on stage, you can't be a parent right now, you've got to be a musician.
It's like, somebody in the audience, please go get onto them for us.
Somebody grab my child.
That's right.
That's really cool to have that, though, to have that musical family. And obviously you mentioned Nathan, your sister and brother, sister married Nathan, who I was in school with, to have that connection and just, just enjoy that creativity and spread that creativity clearly from your grandparents down to your kids. That's really cool to have that. And that's
it is. Well, and I got it from my grandma, she's a singer. We sang with her last Sunday, actually, at an event. And then on the other side, my mom's mom, she's a painter and a singer, so it's just like, it's just been a joy, to grow up, with people surrounding me with hey, try this. It's been really cool.
What's your instrument of choice?
I play guitar.
Okay.
The best. I wouldn't consider myself just I'm proficient in it. I'm probably intermediate, but I wouldn't consider it. I'm not on any John Mayer level by any stretch of the imagination.
You're not shredding like B.B. King.
Exactly. I just I'm good enough to play and sing a song, standing there. But I've been learning drums a little bit, which has been fun. I've been playing that a little bit at church, just kind of off and on. Yeah. I'm not great, but it's a fun thing.
Drums seems like a fun just stress reliever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially to end a rock song.
Yeah, banging on the drums and going crazy. Yeah, it's
I
a lot
don't
of fun.
have the coordination. I need to learn the coordination. I can't tap my head and rub my tummy or any of that stuff. I need to figure that out because I'm always a toe tapper and listen to music, tap my feet or fingers or whatever it is. Yep. But drums would be something I'd love to learn for sure. Well, let's dive into the drone thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, we're here to talk about the drone thing. We spent plenty of time, loving life, talking about yourself.
Absolutely.
But how does the passion for drones come about? And the drone industry is when people just see videos and they see flying stuff and they think, oh, that looks really cool. Well, it's not a helicopter anymore, it's a drone, and there's so much more access now because of the drone industry, and even the military aspect of it, right? There's so many different kind of aspects of drones and safety and all this stuff. It's probably one of the greatest things I think that's happened to technology in that I see for creators too.
Absolutely,
it's a lot cheaper, for movies to be created or bits to be created in movies by flying a drone versus getting chopper up and doing all the other stuff. But would love to hear kind of your entry into it and when you got your first drone, the stories and marrying your creativity and stuff into that. So fire away.
Okay, cool. So in 2017 I got my first drone, DJI Phantom 4. DJI is kind of the leader in the drone market here in the U.S. or probably everywhere. I got that just kind of again, I'm always like exploring things like, okay, what can we do with this? Tax write-off, and then just kind of play with this and see what we can do. And so after kind of getting my kind of, whereabouts on how to fly the thing, over a few flights, I was like, okay, now I'm going to do something like, creative with this thing. Like, what do we do? And so my son and I was like, hey, do you want to make a short film together? And he was like, sure. And, of course, I don't know that he knew at that time, okay, well, this is going to mean you're going to have to work with me for hours rather than just 5 minutes. And but he did a great job. So we made a short film called Cardboard Cadet. And in the film, it's really only about a minute-long film, something like that. And a really short, quick, to-the-point story. But basically, we used the drone and a cheap green screen I made out of a bed sheet from Walmart and a cheap DSLR camera. And we made it look like he's flying around town in his imagination in a cardboard airplane that he builds at the front of the film. And then he has a dogfight with another plane, and it crashes into our water tower or our grain elevator in town. And just a fun short. I wake him up at the end and say it's time for dinner, and he's like, okay, I'll be back in a second. And then it snaps back to his his imagination. Just kind of a fun, endearing kind of childhood imagination film, and innocent and playful and all of that. And we just made it for fun. So we upload it. It starts, obviously locally, people are real supportive of it and really excited about it. And it starts getting more and more views. And I have several people reach out to me about it. It's a really cute film and good job. And one guy named Randy Slavin from New York City contacts me on Facebook, and he's like, hey, you need to enter this film into my drone film festival, the LA Drone Film Festival. He's also the founder of the New York City Drone Film Festival, which was kind of the main drone film festival when they were at their kind of heyday beginning, And so Randy, contacts me. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And so I submit it to the LA Drone Film Festival, and it gets nominated. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, let's take a trip to LA. So, me and my brother and a couple other guys, we got to LA for a couple days, and it was super fun. We're sitting there, in the theater in LA, and there's these guys that have submitted films from like National Geographic and Red Bull, and I'm like, I was like the biggest poser ever. Yeah. I shot this on a, $1,000 DJI drone, so anyway, I'm, nervous sitting in there, and I'd submitted to a narrative category. And, as you know, with drone footage, there's not really a lot of narrative. Like, it's mostly just B-roll and, things like that. And so anyway, comes to our category, they play the videos in the category, and I win. And so I'm like, man, I have to go down there and talk to, in front of all these people that, I have no idea who they are. And I'm sure some of them are legit, filmmakers. So my brother had been teasing me up until the category. He's like, hey, you should say as many drone puns as you can if you win in your acceptance speech. So we put a bunch of them on a list on my phone, and awesome. And we're like, okay. I was like, I'll do it. And then I go down there, and I'm like, hey, how is everybody doing tonight? And it's like crickets. So thanks so much for this award. I appreciate it. See you later. I chickened out. Everybody was so quiet. I was like, nope, not doing it. I can't do it.
Oh, wow.
So that's the running joke at our festival now. It's like the most drone puns you can work into acceptance speech. If you win an award, that's bonus points.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we made this film, Cardboard Cadet. That introduced me to the world of drone film festivals. I knew about about film festivals in general. Just being a filmmaker, those are kind of a important part of a filmmaker's journey. And so, but drone specific ones I didn't know were a thing. And so that started that world. I went for a few years, just kind of like, okay, this is a thing. Let's see if I can ride this wave a little bit, and let's make just narrative films, just using kind of the drone as the main camera to tell the story. And of course, that lends itself to with especially back then, drones were just kind of coming out, so the quality wasn't as good as they are today. So they kind of they lend themselves to kind of a it's a more kind of homemade feel, and things like that, which is fine. But we made one where you know what a droney is?
Oh,
so the droney is like in the drone world is like a selfie with a drone. It's like where they have the drone here and then it flies back and reveals where they are. So they were really popular for a while. So we made one called The Last Droney, where it's like me and a few friends that are getting attacked by zombies. And we're trying to use the drone to find a way to escape, and it flies out and reveals the whole town's on fire and zombies are coming to attack us.
And this is all special effects.
It's all visual effects. Yeah, I mean, like we shot the footage and then we added in zombies and added in sound effects, and super fun. Like it has a helicopter fly by the drone and crash, and stuff like that. So we did that. I did one where there was one of my friends. He gets his first drone and he's playing with it irresponsibly and crashes it into his head, and then kind of cartoon like his angel comes out of him and starts floating up to heaven, and the whole film is him trying to get back down to his body. And then it ends on the kind of the joke is like it ends on the drone packaging, which says like something about see the world from a new perspective or something like that. And he's like up in the sky looking down at it. So just fun stuff like that. Trying to kind of be like, I'm not like a really dark filmmaker either. Yeah. So like all my stuff is typically lighthearted and funny and kind of quirky or kind of Pixar-ish maybe is a way to describe it. But just like that kind of introduced me into that world. And then in 2020, there's a lady in Woodward who's just super supportive of our family named Lori Steenberg, and another lady who works for the city of Woodward named Rachel Van Horn. And they were like, hey, we should you've been doing all these drone film festivals, we should start our own in Woodward. Yeah. And so we got together and started talking about that, and then and we decided, okay, we're going to do it, but let's make it kind of all around drone festival, just because film festivals are a niche thing, drones are a very niche thing. So it's like, let's kind of open this up and see like what happens. And so 2021 was our first year, and it was really cool to see just like the support year one that we had, and then it's just grown every year since then. It's been really, really cool.
Let's dive into then those separate categories of the drone's so versatile, but there's so many different sides of it. What are the ones that you have in your festival and categories? And we can dive into all that stuff.
Sure.
I'm fascinated by all of it.
Yeah. So Friday night is probably easiest just to talk kind of about the event itself and kind of what our intent is with that. But Friday night is the Drone Film Festival and Awards show. And so we accept drone films and photos for a certain number of months leading up to the festival. And then we have a group of really talented judges, most of them actually here from Oklahoma City, who will go through those along with our staff and kind of pick out the top nominees. And so we'll curate a show that's about an hour and a half long, just kind of treat it kind of like a movie night. Mm-hmm. So if your family wants to go out and see a movie, you're there for roughly hour and a half, 2 hours. And so we kind of treat it that same way, but we have lots of different categories. We have kind of landscape and architecture, We have FPV, which is like pilots flying via their goggles, and the drone is really acrobatic. It can fly and do flips and go through small, openings, things like that. We kind of have a narrative and catch-all category where it's like, if this doesn't quite fit all the other categories, you can submit here. We have Oklahoma photography and Oklahoma filmmaker category, which I just really personally love as somebody who wants to see that bolstered here in our state. And then something that I've really enjoyed the last 2 years has been our student categories. It's like getting to see young people create films. We've had a young guy from Woodward, actually, he does Lego stop motion. So he did a drone-themed Lego stop motion the first year where a guy's flying a drone, and it's really cool. And then he did one last year where the drone actually flies through his backyard, but he made it kind of feel miniature. So it's a Lego drone flying, so he uses a kind of a camera to capture and simulate that angle from it. And so lots of cool stuff like that. That's been just really exciting because we get to invest in younger people, kind of like I've talked about, people have invested in me. And so I think just being able to be that person to inspire somebody else is really exciting to me, even if they don't do that for a career, but just to help people grow. So that's some of the categories. We actually had a girl last year who submitted a film, and she got nominated. She didn't win the category, but she got nominated, and so her and her family drove 12 hours from Indiana to come to the festival, and her science teachers that had encouraged her to support, which was just super cool because I love seeing families do things like that together. And so we recognized her while she was at the festival, and she came up and gave her kind of a medal and things like that just for her work. But what was super cool is this summer, her dad contacted me, and she had been chosen for Guinness Book of World Records for youngest female award-winning drone pilot, and she had won an award in another festival. And so we got to be part of meeting the criteria for her to be part of the world record. And so she got that this summer. It's super cool. And she submitted another film this year that will be in the festival. So I'm excited to get a kind of see her family again and kind of play a part in that. So.
Yeah. So Friday's kind of like movie night. You got
movie night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Movie night, and then 100 drone light show this year. So those are super cool. It's by now most people have seen those online, but it's basically 100 drones that will go off the ground together and then do a choreographed animated show in the air. And it's really, really cool to see. And there's a lot of our friend Brad with Dynamic Skies. He's the one who does that for us. There's a lot of other companies, but he's the one kind of locally that's the guy, and just a super kind guy and a really intelligent guy. He works with NASA a lot, and he's always sending us stuff like, hey, if this is, if your people are standing here at this angle, they're going to see the show best, and we're going to tilt the show this way. And I'm like, I trust you, man. Yeah. just tell me your way. You just do your thing. And so that's super cool because it's one of those things that God's gifted him with that mind to know, okay, this is going to be the best optimal way to view putting 100, autonomous drones in the air, and it's just super cool to me. It's super fascinating. I
wouldn't think of tilting it to the people on the ground because you look up at it and obviously it makes sense. You need to tilt it so it's flat to what you're looking at.
Exactly.
Not you're kind of looking up at a building and it gets thinner and thinner than what you look up. You need to tilt it.
He's adjusting for that. That perspective. So it's just cool things like that. And here's the truth about our festival is the guys that are running it, Nathan, Jacob, and myself, we're the least smart guys in the room with the drone knowledge. The people that are there are super fascinating and excited to have them part. But so film festival Friday night, award show, and then the drone light show. Then we also have a VIP after party that's just kind of a fun time for the filmmakers and any sponsors or anybody who purchases a VIP ticket that just want to come hang out, kind of network, get to know each other. Relationships are just so important, and getting to visit with people and get to know what they do in learning and stuff like that, and building business partnerships. So that's a really fun time. Then the next day we call Drone Day, which is Saturday the 5th, and this is kind of our drone education. So we kind of take our creativity on Friday night, then we kind of move into kind of drone education, a little bit more drone in entertainment. But we will have a drone keynote speaker. I'm not 100% sure that we've nailed that down completely yet, but we're looking at kind of a higher up in the FAA, which will be cool.
Which you've had in the past, right?
Yes, we've had that. We've had a guy who was a drone pilot in the military our first year, and he's had written books about it. I think Michael Bay bought one of his books to potentially make into a movie, which is super cool. And then the second year we had Dr. Jamie Jacob, who will be there again this year, but he'll be on our industry panel. Super kind, super smart guy that's just doing amazing things, chasing down dolphins in the Bahamas and flying drones through their spray to study dolphin snot. So it's just crazy things like that he's doing, building a drone car, all this just insane stuff at
things
OSU.
That only drones can get.
Exactly.
Or capture, right?
That's
you
right.
Can't fly a helicopter to do that stuff.
Yeah. So he's with OSU, OAir, and then that's their kind of aeronautic, arm of OSU. And then last year we had Victoria Natalie, who's also from OSU, who's a female doctorate, studying drone uses and lots like for weather and things like that. Just super cool. She was fantastic. And then we're going to be doing a drone industry panel. So we have I think like 8 panelists who are going to just be up on the stage for around an hour, and we're going to ask them questions. The audience can ask questions. So this is just a super fun time where it's like, we got one guy named Jordan Hall who uses drones when he chases tornadoes with reed timber. And we have, a lady who's a sergeant in the, major in the Army or Air Force using drones. And we have guy who's using drones for emergency situations in the municipality, all kinds of stuff like that are just super interesting, and that people will have a lot of fun, like hearing these different, like you mentioned, just arms that reach out from the drone world to say, okay, they're not just for taking pictures, they're not just for mapping a field or spraying chemical on a field or whatever or surveying an oil field rig. They can be used across almost all industries.
So many uses, right? Like you said, I didn't even think of the agriculture industry, and the agriculture industry in Oklahoma is massive. Wind
farms, there's guys up where I live, we have wind farms everywhere. They're inspecting blades with the drones so that they don't have to send a guy up on a rope.
I don't want to be anywhere near those blades spinning.
Absolutely. So there's just all these really cool elements to drones, and then education. There's a ton of STEM, stuff that's involved with drones, from building them to learning to fly them to the how does a drone even work? How the blades spin and the propulsion and all of that are just super fascinating. That we're just trying to create kind of this umbrella event to say, okay, we're not going to dive super deep into every one of these, but we're going to give you a general overview of what the festival is, or of what the drone world is through the festival. We're going to make it digestible for the average person who they just want to learn about drones. They don't want to fly one. They don't want to ever touch one, but they want to know about it. Is it safe? Is the guy doing real estate next door spying on me? Things like that. We want to introduce the public to that and let the experts talk to the public, and then we want to make a platform for the experts to kind of talk together and all kind of under the umbrella of a fun event. There's lots of drone events out there that are specific to certain industries, or where it's the industry talking to each other, or kind of the big events where they're selling their product. But there's not a lot that we've seen of places where it's just a fun, low-key event where people can come and learn about the technology. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do, and just give people a place to encourage them, have fun, and learn something new.
Yeah, and also, there's the sports side of it too. Yeah, right? The racing side.
Yeah, so that's another part of Saturdays. We have drone races. So we up to this point have been racing tiny whoops. They're little 3-inch drones. They have a little camera inside them, and the pilots wear their FPV goggles, and we build these really cool courses, obstacle courses, and they fly through those kind of at high speeds, and we'll take the feeds from the pilots into a big screen where everybody can watch and see what they're doing. So this year we're doing kind of like a space kind of cyber cowboy kind of theme. So we always try to do kind of a Western theme with our roots here in Oklahoma, but kind of change that up. We're doing kind of a fun one there. So drone soccer, and then we're still kind of ironing out the details, but we're fairly certain drone soccer will be there this year.
Okay.
Which drone soccer is really cool.
Yeah, explain that to me.
Yeah, so I've not seen that in person yet, but basically it's a big 10-foot by 20-foot netted area. Okay. And there's 5 players on each team. And this is growing like crazy, I guess, in the Asian countries, and then starting to get into the U.S. It's really popular because the students build their own drones, and then they have to learn how to program them and fly them and stuff. Yeah. So it's a really cool. They can even build them while they if they crash one on site, they can fix it and get back up into the game. Yeah. So it's this netted area. There's vertical hoops at each end. Each team has 5 people, and one of those 5 is a scorer.
Okay.
And so the scorer is trying to get through the opposite hoop, and everybody else is just crashing into each other. So awesome. So it sounds so fun, and I'm really excited. I hope we're able to kind of nail them down and get them here, just because I think I think there are a few schools, like I think there's like 2 schools here in Oklahoma that have kind of got the systems to put drone soccer into place. But it would be it'd just be a fun thing if it was like another school sport, kind of along esports are real popular now, just kind of along those lines that gives maybe those students who aren't into, football, basketball, soccer, things like that, something that they can kind of have an outlet with that still, has that same kind of feel to it. So
tell me a little bit about kind of like your sponsors and like the industry kind of, industry heads, I guess, the industry, like the big people in the industry. You mentioned obviously OSU seems like they're pretty involved, and you got some really cool, people coming up. And the beauty of it is, like I said, like we've been talking about, like drones go across so many industries. Brag on your sponsors a little bit. Yeah. So OSU is one of our name sponsors. It's called OAIR. Is there? Don't ask me to remember it's several big words, but it's basically their aeronautics kind of research branch, and they've been super supportive the last couple of years. And this year they're kind of coming on as one of our name sponsors. They are fantastic. They're super excited. Everybody that we've worked with and met from there are just pumped about drones in general, and then just I think with our event kind of being just, like I said, a fun kind of digestible event, they're excited about that and what kind of that can bring to our state. And so really happy to be kind of partnered with them. And then Oklahoma Department of Aerospace and Aeronautics, ODAA, is one of our name sponsors as well. They're awesome as well. They're kind of tasked in the Oklahoma Commerce, department with everything aeronautics, so airports, pilots, all that kind of. Their goal is to bolster that industry, which is an industry that's second to oil and natural gas. It's a really big industry in Oklahoma, and so we're super excited to be partnered with them as well, and their team is fantastic. We have a few other kind of sponsors. There's the Skyway that's in the Tulsa area. So there's basically they've built a kind of a few hundred miles, I think 200 or 300 miles, something like that. But it's basically an area that they can test drone flights, like long range drone flights, and there's some companies that are kind of already stationed there testing. I think one of the companies called WindShape, and they're testing like the effects of weather on drones and things like that. And then they can take it out and fly it through this corridor that is set aside for that purpose, which is super cool. And I think it's, if I'm right, it's the longest one in the United States, which is really cool. And so then, cool. The Tulsa Mare. So there's the Drone Port Network that's also part of that Skyway 36. The Tulsa Mare is put out an initiative, with the Blue Ribbon Commission, to make Tulsa the drone capital of the world, which is super cool with us moving there. I think we'll just fit in really nicely with everything they're trying to do there to make the drone kind of industry acceptable, in a city environment, which is really cool. So we're working with Tulsa Innovation Labs and Partner Tulsa there as well, and a few other kind of Tulsa entities. The Presties, my friends Sam and Shannon Presti, who work with the Thunder here, like they've sponsored us, and we're really thankful for their friendship and encouragement there, and just a few others. And so it's a lot of just really cool people coming alongside and saying, hey, we think this this festival has some value, which for us is awesome. Like we just started it kind of on a whim just to see what it did, and we didn't really foresee just all these kind of connecting points in the drone world to say, oh, this is something that could be really cool for our state. So dude, it's awesome. I love it, and I love it's always fun to hear like the origin story of this film that you made with your son. Right? You're like, oh, let's just make a drone film, and it just becomes this thing and leads you down this whole path, and you're just like, why not? There's an opportunity here. And like you mentioned, it's a lot. There's the kind of underlying theme here is it's people. There's community and people, and
absolutely.
There's two people who said, hey, let's do a drone festival here. We'll figure it out in Woodward, and then it just kind of compounds from there. That's very Oklahoma.
It is, absolutely,
So where do we send people? Obviously, it's October 4th and 5th in Tulsa. But where can people go to? Maybe, I don't know. Is it I mean, this will go out next weekend. No, sorry, this will go out Tuesday. So if there's is there time to submit the video?
So our submissions are closed. We've already released our nominees, but definitely you can go get tickets. ThunderbirdDroneFestival.com is the website, and there's a little button up there that says get tickets. Click that. It'll direct you to our ticketing platform. And I think the all access pass for the 2 days is $50, which, that's a great price for an event that you get for 2 days. And then single day passes are $30 each. And then the VIP all access pass for both days is $100. That gets you into the VIP after party on Friday night. And and then we do children 12 and under free with an adult, which is super cool because as a parent, I know like how expensive stuff like that can get when you're paying $50 for everybody. And so we want to keep that kind of in place. And then we have some discounts if people will reach out to us for students that are a little bit older that want to be there. And educators, things like that, first responders, we do discounts for everybody, and we want people to attend. As you said, it's about relationship to us. So Nathan, Jacob, and I, we just want people to come and have a good time. So I think that's definitely
something that is going to happen. People are going to come to this event, going to come to enjoy Friday night, and then get to listen to all these industry leaders and maybe do some drone racing or just get involved, or even just if you've never even you've seen drones, you've never even flown one before, come by and check it out. There's so many things that you can fit into, and as you mentioned, for parents with kids, the STEM implications of this, and we could talk about it for hours. There's so many different, industries that drones are related to. So thanks for coming down. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Super pumped to attend the Drone Festival. And for people listening, I'll post the links that Chris mentioned in the description, as well as go follow the Instagram, see some awesome videos, and go watch. I'll put the link for your Cardboard Cadet video as well in the description. People can go check that out. And thanks for listening. We'll catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thanks.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is brought to you by the Doghouse OKC. Recently, I have been in need of some doggy daycare for my 2 pups, and the Doghouse have come in clutch. The team over there are incredible. They've taken care of my 2 golden doodles, and so it's been an honor to partner with them on the podcast and share the love. And the one thing that I do with the sponsors that I have is stuff that I use and recommend, like the Diffies with my car, Hall of Fame. They're awesome. Citizens Banks, where I bank. Chickasaw Nation, huge supporter of Oklahoma. And adding to that is the Doghouse. And so if you're in need of doggy daycare in the day or boarding overnight, they do grooming and other cool things too. But I've had a fantastic experience, and it's an honor and a privilege to share this with you too. So go to thedogHouseOKC.com and follow them on Instagram at thedogHouseOKC. And hopefully our pups will run into each other.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.